The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air. Fast and reliable AC service.
Welcome in, Campo and Joe. Fired up. The pads came on today, so we got plenty to talk about. Joe C. from XL Primetime, 2 to 4 afternoons on 1010 XL, and our head coach, Dave Campo, ready to go. As a matter of fact, he was so fired up today at training camp, he had to go up into the stands and get with all of Duval to watch some of the practice yesterday and today, right? You're fired up, right?
Well, yeah, I'm fired up. And listen, I spent a lot of my career, other than when I was a head coach,
right,
in the press box.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
When I went up into the stands, I could see better.
Yeah.
And so it was fun. I enjoyed it. And I knew some of the guys up there,
which is
including
nice.
my son that I didn't know was going to be at practice. I changed position from one end of the stands to the other, walked down there, walked up, and walked right into him and sat next to him, and I didn't know he was there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, listen, we got plenty to get into, and we're going to try and break it down because you're looking at a football team that, honestly, in the first week of training camp, there was a lot of second guessing, even on XL Primetime. Trevor did not get off to a particularly good start, and the one thing that I kept maintaining, at least I felt like was pretty dang important, was just the simple fact that when pads come on, hits change everything, okay? And they're just barely getting to a point where they're hitting. But to have pads on, lines of scrimmage, both of them doing work, I think it settles down a quarterback because that is real, actual football. And guess what? He went out and had himself a pretty damn good day.
What was he?
Trevor, 16 of 17.
That's pretty good, I'd say. Yeah. Well, I think that, I think we get overly excited and positively and negatively during training camp because, obviously it's a little different situation without pads or with pads even. Guys know each other. DBs know receivers. Receivers know DBs. They know some things. It gives you a little bit of a false picture sometimes. But just remember this: there was a practice that Stroud had down at Houston where he was 4 of 14.
Yeah.
That's early, So who knows? I mean, I think he had a good day today, and as far as I'm concerned, he's going to change around this year, in my opinion.
It's funny because we were looking at social media. Deshaun Watson, it was either yesterday or the day before, was 18 of 19, and then you mentioned the C.J. Stroud number. And then Lamar had been picked off by one of his I'll think of it, Marlon Humphrey, 3 of the last 4 days. And Josh Allen throws 4 picks in 5 plays. And it's just all over the map for Trevor and for this offense. And this is our first Campo and Joe conversation since we've seen practice. A lot of thought, at least the way I'm looking at this, is that they're putting that offense install together where they are going to be committed to running the football. They're going to make dang sure they can get that 3rd and 1 when they need it. And they're working on some things. And yeah, Trevor looks a little clunky to start out, but hell, I love what I saw today.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that, practice is based on, you set up your defense based on what the install is for the offense.
Right.
In other words, you got your install up, what you'd like to get in.
Right.
But what the offense puts in from day to day determines some of the stuff that you put in.
Right.
So, for example, if you know the offense is going to put in a bunch set, well, then you're going to work an individual on playing against the bunch. So when you get into the bunch situation, you see it, you play it pretty good. Okay,
let me ask you this real quick, because this is something we were talking about yesterday. It doesn't mean the defense knows what play the offense is running.
No.
Yeah.
No. It just knows that they know that the coaches know what the install is on both sides of the ball. Yeah. So at the same time, the offense, if they know that we're putting in goal line on defense, they're going to have a goal line period for them. It's not that they know what's going on, but at the same time, what it does is you can put the quarterback into a unusual situation because you're working your bunch sets, and that's their emphasis of the day. Whereas in a regular ball game, you jump out and bunch. You haven't worked on only the bunch that particular day.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden that play works. So you get a false sense a lot in camp.
Yeah. So I that's the most encouraging thing. And the other part of it is just to kind of bring us from what we saw in the first few days without pads and what we saw today is that I'll take an improved defense all day long. Right. This team struggled to get a third down and to stop a third down. There's no getting away from that. You can't sugarcoat it at all. This team did not affect the quarterback enough or make sure that they got that offense off the field. And so what I'm seeing is a more aggressive defense, a very active set of hands from the secondary. I feel like the back seven coach has had a really, really good training camp up to this point.
Well, we've talked about this. One of the things that kind of sticks out to me, first of all, I can't get a read on who's starting anywhere because they're still rotating guys in. Very I thought I knew what it was because they were putting, if it was a nickel situation, they had the nickel back and the starting right corner, but everybody else was messed up. Then when it was some other situation, they had the two guys together. They're not doing that. I was wrong. I was wrong on that one. But all I can tell you is that this time right now is I'm happy when the defense plays well because that's the area more of concern. The offensive line and the defense are the two areas that they've got to get better with. And I think you got plenty of time for the offensive line to work together. The defense, though, I think it shows some good stuff. And the example I use all the time is Gregory Jr., who was a factor for them last year. The guys that they brought in are better athletes than he is.
Right.
Well, that shows that there's improvement in the secondary right there. Now, whether or not they're overly improved against the rest of the league, we'll find out. But I think that's a plus.
Yeah, and look, I'm agreeing with you because I'm looking at a few situations. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why is Buster Brown lining up against, it was either Christian Kirk or whomever it might have been, maybe even Brian Thomas Jr. I'm like, that looks a little odd. And then Mason Smith was working interiorly with the ones, but he is potentially the backup to Eric Armstead. So I had no problem with that. And then you start looking around and you're looking at all these combinations that you're talking about. And I loved it because I saw a guy that's been singled out by Doug Peterson, Josh Proctor, one of the guys that he singled out, back there with Devin Lloyd and with all the other starters.
Right.
I don't mind the combos right now.
Well, that's really their whole thing right now. The first couple of weeks of practice, they're gonna find out the skill set. And whatever the skill set is, they're going to use it.
Right.
You know, if one guy, usually every player, first of all, every player that's out there are talented in their own right. I mean, you talk about 1% of all guys that play football. These are the guys, right? Whether they're number 90 or number 53. Well, some guys are really good at this, okay at this, not very good at this. Some guys are not very good at this, but they're okay here and there.
Right.
Well, when you find that out about a guy, you can now substitute and put guys in to do what their best skill set is. For example, if the guy's skill set is he's a great pass rusher, but he can't do anything else, then on third down and long, you put the guy in.
Yeah.
He's use his skill set, whatever that 53-man roster is at the end, but you have to find those things out.
All right, so I mentioned that I feel like the back seven has had a very good camp to this point. So let's hit position groups, and let's start on the defense. I think we agree that the secondary looks like it is potentially as deep a unit or a position room as they've got. What do you think as far as some of the position groups you've seen so far on that side of the ball?
Well, first of all, the secondary, I like what I see in the secondary. I think if Darby's healthy, if Savage, still has a red shirt on, I don't know what that is. I don't have any idea. I know he came in with a little bit banged up. Right. So, but he is a nickel. I think he's going to start at nickel. You got guys like Antonio Johnson. I love Campbell. Campbell's had a good camp. I think if he's healthy, he's going to be outstanding. Those kind of guys upgrade the secondary, and then I'm expecting Cisco to have a contract year.
Yeah.
So I like that group.
Year. Yeah.
I think the defensive line up front has going to have more depth than they've had, especially if Hamilton is 100%. But I think Mason Smith, what's his name? The other tackle.
The rookie
came in.
Yeah, Jordan Jefferson.
Yeah. I think those two guys, along with, don't count out Lacey. He's a big guy that has pretty good athletic ability. So, you got Harris, you got some really good players in there, and I think that's going to be a strength.
Well, it's funny. I'm walking off the field today, and I look over and I see Adam Gostis walk off the field, number 96. And I think to myself, I haven't seen him make too many plays yet. And I don't even know exactly where he was at health-wise. That speaks volumes to, I saw a bunch of Tyler Lacey, a bunch of Mason Smith, a bunch of Devon Hamilton getting healthy, obviously Roy Robertson Harris. Now, Gostis would play outside. I don't know whether he's going to be minimized because of the change from 3-4 to 4-3. But anyway, I haven't seen him pop too much.
I think that's going to be one of the guys that are down towards the end that are going to have to make the football team. And I think, that's a plus because I think they're getting better at that position. The concern I have on defense, well, let me start with this. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but they have Devin Lloyd playing middle linebacker.
Yeah, I've not seen enough of that, but I have seen it. And there have been times when I've seen Foye and Devin on the field, but then... Yeah,
no, they've been on the field together, but when I think it might be minimizing the adjustment period.
Okay.
Because, the will linebacker is like a nickel, only he's a linebacker. They have to adjust to one-back sets. They have to do different things.
Okay.
The middle linebacker is the middle linebacker.
Okay, so does that mean that, again, not knowing this will be in concrete later, but that Devin Lloyd is going to be asked to do more things when they are not in base, that he will be out there and Foye, but they'll be doing different things?
Well, first of all, I think it minimizes what he's going to do from the standpoint the running game. Middle linebacker, that's the easiest position to play. He's going here and he's going there. That's it.
Right.
So it eliminates some of the mental part of it, right?
Right.
But I have seen them interchangeable. I've seen Muma on the field and Lloyd. So I may be completely wrong. They may feel like he's the best run supporter inside the tackles, so he's going to be the middle linebacker. But he's in there doing a lot of stuff. It's not like they think he's not doing anything.
Have you seen him in pass rush situations? Because I have not.
No.
Okay.
No.
So we'll find out whether or not he's going to be asked to do that, because we do think there's a little lack of depth when we go behind 44 and 41. You know that Josh Allen is going to be the man. Trayvon's going to be the man on the other side. Who are the next rotational guys, especially on early downs? How do you see that playing out? Travis Gibson's one of them.
Yeah, well, Gibson, I think, is a little stiff, but I saw him do some decent things in the one-on-ones today. So, I may be cutting him a little short. But, I don't think he's ever been more than a 4 or 5 sack guy, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Max. Yeah.
I think he's a little stiff, but I look to Armstead being a guy that's going to play outside and inside.
Okay.
I've seen him do that. I've also seen what Nielsen, the coordinator, did with Calais Campbell last year. He was inside and outside.
Right.
I've heard that in some sessions with Trent Baalke, with some of our people that have had one-to-one conversations with him where that was brought up, and the answer was, but we have Armstead. So there's some value to that.
Yeah.
They're counting on him being kind of a combination guy.
And for what it's worth, Mason Smith is Eric Armstead's backup, and those are the situations they put him in today.
That's correct.
The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air. Fast and reliable AC service.
Yeah, they had him rushing outside on the one-on-ones as well, and the team.
Absolutely.
And the only thing I worry about is Mason Smith gets stood up really fast.
No, Mason has got a ways to go. Just watching him today, he's a rookie. We're just hoping that he gets enough work between now and that first ball game to where he's in the rotation. And again, you're only asking the rotation guys to play 15 or 20 plays at the most.
Yeah, give everything you got.
Just give some help to those guys that are starting so they're not out there 40 plays in a ball game.
Yeah. All right, so secondary, we feel like it looks pretty good. Antonio Johnson, I haven't seen, enough plays made, but I still see him back there. I like the potential of what he represents. I 100% agree with you on Cisco. And then you've got a lot of other guys that are making plays. Buster Brown, Christian Braswell.
Right.
You start talking depth. Gregory Jr. you mentioned, and Jarian Jones.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have the guys that right now, Darby, to this point, has had a decent camp.
Absolutely.
He got beat a little bit today on a couple of situations.
Yeah,
but
he got beat on a one-on-one. He had the guy shadowed. They made a pretty good catch on him.
Yeah, very
That's
true.
going to happen once in a while. But
Exactly.
I like him. I think he's a good player.
All right, step up next level to the linebackers.
The linebacker situation, I think, is Ventrell Miller is going to be a factor. I think Ventrell, just watching him, he's a middle linebacker too. I mean, he very good instincts. He can run. He's smart.
Yeah.
I've said this before. When I see him move, there's no hesitation.
Right.
When the ball is snapped, he's headed. And the more I watch him, he's going in the right spots. Right. So I like that part of it for sure.
Like he could be a first-step guesser, but he's guessing right a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And really, Muma, Muma gives them a decent backup inside, but they're also using Muma as the Sam linebacker when they put the extra tight ends in there and when they're anticipating a run. 1st and 10, you'll see him sum up on the tight end. I think that I feel okay with that group.
And then you just mentioned basically what we're looking at as far as the front goes is that that interiorly when Eric Armstead's healthy and he's back, Devon Hamilton looks like he is recharged.
Right.
Looks like he's back to the same size and pretty much close to the same strength.
Right.
And so you've got a starting 4, and then it looks like we're building on a nice rotation.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a pretty good backup group. Obviously a little bit with that end position, what's going to happen there. But other than that, I feel pretty good about this defensive team.
All right, let's head over to the offensive side as we break it down. First day of pads, so there's no way that you can fully guarantee exactly what you're seeing. I'm still a little concerned about what I'm seeing at the line of scrimmage, but I felt like Trevor had a good 2.5 seconds to make some good decisions today and delivered the ball on time and on point.
Yeah, I'm still a little bit concerned about the running game, but they're emphasizing it.
Oh, man.
They've got 2 tight ends there a lot so far.
Yeah.
So I think they're emphasizing it. I thought Bigsby had a great day today. I mean, you know what? He needs to be healthy, back.
Yeah.
Because he's one of those guys that can jump cut and get outside, or he can take it inside. He's a combination guy. He bounced outside a couple of times today and outran everybody.
Yeah, I liked it. And I heard just a little bit. I'm going to try and sit down with him next week, but I heard just a little bit of a conversation. And for some rookies, it can happen right away for them. Other rookies, it may not happen right away. The light may not come on. And I bet he'll admit to you there were things he did not do that he needed to do to be better.
Well, first of all, bad things happened to him early.
Right, true.
He had a fumble. He had a tip pass for an interception. And all of a sudden, the confidence changes a little bit. Then you miss a couple of blocks in the passing game. And all of a sudden, they got him backed up a little bit.
They sit you down.
The confidence gets worse at that point.
Yeah.
I just think the guy's got a lot of talent. I think I'm excited about him. I think he's got a chance. In the offensive line, I think time will tell. They're a zone blocking group, which is not a real physical. It's more of a finesse blocking, and they got the backs to do that. I'm still concerned about that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, what they're going to do there.
Okay.
Because that's not a zone run.
Okay.
That's a power run, when they're in that situation.
All right, so that's an admitted concern. I watched Cam Robinson today. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah.
Walker Little had 1 penalty, got pulled off the field in team, and has been okay, not great. And Cam right now, even though he may have been considered one of the guys that didn't maybe do everything in the offseason that he needed to do, he's still a very capable left tackle.
I might have to eat that one because he looks pretty good to me right now. And I think Walker is behind him right now. So, I might have been a little quick on the trigger that was going to be a big competition, but I'm not sure of that positively or negatively
Exactly.
yet.
Yeah.
He looked pretty good today, though.
Yeah. And look, you identified it, and that may be the closest guy to unseating a starter, which is maybe why Cam does need to make sure he brings it.
Absolutely. And one thing about him is when it's nut cutting time, he's pretty good. Physically.
And even though PFF gave him a bad grade as far as some of his run block win rate, I still think he can have the attitude. Yeah. Ezra kind of got handled a little bit in some one-on-ones.
Yep.
And that definitely needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about the interior a little bit still this year.
Yeah.
The three guys in there. Because you got a couple of old-timers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Cleveland, is a much better athlete than he is physical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure where we're at there.
All right, so let's wrap up with the playbook and kind of an idea of what we think is happening. Like we said, a lot of focus on the run. They need to make sure that they involve these running backs with the weapons that they have, what ETN can do in the run game and in the passing game, and then what Tank might be able to provide punch-wise. And then, like you mentioned, 2 tight ends. So they've committed to that.
Yes.
And they've also committed to red zone work.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I'd work on the red zone every flipping day until we figured out how we could score.
Right. And that's part of their plan, I think. They've been in the red zone a lot already.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the red zone, it takes a little while before you get in there. They want the quarterback to be real confident in what's going on, and then they get in the red zone because it's difficult.
Yeah.
They threw him in there 2 days in a row right at the beginning of training camp.
Right.
So they're testing, they're trying to get him into a position where he says, okay, I didn't do very well that time. I got to take accountability. I can't throw that interception. I got to throw the ball out of the end zone.
Right.
And he threw one out of the end zone today when he got pressure.
Yeah.
So, that's something that I think they're putting a special emphasis on for sure.
And not only did they do it 2 days right away, they did it first day in pads.
Yeah.
And they went down there twice and did it.
Yep.
And so I'm just betting that was a good 2 10-minute periods of practice.
Oh, yeah.
So that is significant.
Yeah, I think they're doing it the right way. I think that was something that Doug had made a point of early, was to put him in critical situations early so that he can work his way through those so that when they get to the ball game, they're kind of second nature to you.
And then the other half of it, as we wrap it up, is that I feel like we're seeing a more intense environment in practice, and I feel like the coaches are really active. The players are hooping and hollering when they're making plays. There's a lot of, like you said, hybrid starting lineups, if you want to go with that term, because not everybody is an A starter. They're just mixing and matching right now. But I feel like the productivity compared to what we've seen before, pretty good.
Well, I think part of that, first of all, the way they finished the last year, that's going to be a factor. I don't care what anybody says. They're in their minds know that was a bad situation.
It was a fail.
Right. The other thing is, I think the way they're approaching, especially on defense, because I watch the defense more than I do the offense anyway. But
that's who you are, Dave.
Yeah, but I watch the defense, and with them putting guys in like a backup safety in with the first group, that just breeds competition.
Yeah.
So you'll get a much crisper, more exciting practice that way because guys feel like, hey, they're coaching me. They're getting me out there and giving me a chance to at least compete. If I go out here and intercept 2 or 3 balls, they may say, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. True. We got the right guy out there, whatever, that kind of a thing. So I think that's a real factor, and I'm excited about that. They did something today as far as reps are concerned that I didn't see at all last year. They, both in the run game and the pass game, they did some half-line stuff. What I mean by that is they had a second group and a first group working on separate ends of the field.
Okay.
And they were only throwing one side. They would throw one side, and then they'd throw the other side, and on both fields with first and second and third units. They did the same thing in the running game. They lined up a tight end on one side with 2 linemen and 2 linebackers, and then an open side on the other side with a linebacker, 2 linebackers, and the backside safety. And then they would run a tight inside run and play, just half of it. No, this side didn't go. Then they'd come back and run something to the open side. Then they'd come back and run to the tight end side.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you more reps. It's back and forth. Go. All right, you finish. Go. Right. You finish. Go. You finish. And I like that. That is what breeds practice going fast and guys getting a lot of reps and getting excited about it.
I do love it. And it's so funny because if we go back in time, as we wrap this up real quick, is there was a time when Gus Bradley was only running a certain number of plays. And then Doug Marrone took over, and he increased it by 25%.
Yeah.
And then little by little, it started to erode again.
Yeah.
And obviously, there was a change. And then Doug Peterson came in. And even with Doug and the disappointment from last year, he's tried to up his ante in terms of the way he's preparing and planning.
Yeah, and I think Nielsen has been a factor in this. I really do. I think some of those drills to me are fine. The half-line stuff, that's more about the defense than it is the offense.
Okay.
Because you're working coverages over there, just half the coverage. And you're getting routes into that coverage. But it's not as effective for the quarterback because the quarterback is not reading.
Okay.
He's throwing routes.
Right.
Okay, I'm throwing an out and a curl.
Right.
I'm going to read that particular coverage. But if in the whole scheme of things, they might have gone completely on the other side based on what they see.
Okay.
So it's really a defensive drill. And for me, I think Nielsen probably brought that to the table because I didn't see it at all last year.
Right.
And in OTAs, I didn't see it. So
that's good. The main thing
things are evolving.
Yeah. Yeah. And they need to be on receivers when games matter, like they have been in training camp. All right, Coach, as always, we appreciate it. Dave Campo, Joe C. I'll talk to you 2 to 4 on XL Primetime, and we always enjoy talking Jaguars football on Campo and Joe.
The Campo and Joe podcast is brought to you by Bold City Heating and Air, fast and reliable AC service.